Hi there, Steph. Thanks for popping by. So today's card was made with a Clearly Besotted stamp set called Thinking of You. I've previously used the lily that comes in that stamp set, and it was my first time using the orchid. So I stamped it on some Nina Solar White, sorry, with some Memento Tuxedo Black, and I started coloring the orchid with a very light layer of W1 Warm Grey Marker 1, and that's to help blend with the dotting technique I'm going to use afterwards. So I focus the dots with some W7, which is quite dark, toward the center, and then I add some W5 on the top of it, so it kind of blends but not completely, and you get that kind of tiger effect that you get on some lilies. And then I blend with some W1, so I didn't use W3, I did jump one color on purpose to keep the contrast between the outside of the flower and the inside, and I think it looks quite nice. And then I use the same color for the little middle bits of the flower, but so that there would be a bit of contrast, I kept the middle very light and I added some bit of dark around. And I use the same dotted technique for every flower, or every big flower. Then for the flower that you see from behind, just above, I will just use a little feathering technique, to do some blending, simple blending. And I will do the same on the little flowers as well, because they were very small and it's kind of hard to blend, to do anything else than just blending in that kind of spaces. So they are quite small flowers, but that technique is really, that dotted technique works really well for these kind of little spaces, so I thought that was quite good. And then I moved on to it's not quite the stem, I'm not sure it's called, the green part of the flower. And I went for a very light yellow for the highlight and a dark olive green, and I thought it was quite nice. It's a bit more vintagey kind of green, but I think it works quite well with the warm greys. And it's a bit more classic, I suppose. Then I decided to add a little bit of color on the petals because I thought it was a bit too dark and it's a birthday card, so I wanted it to be a little bit more lively, so that's where the pink comes. It's very subtle, you won't see that much on the camera, but when you see the card in really, it's quite nice, and it pops a little bit against the warm grey one, so that's quite good. Then I added some shading with some cool grey markers. So here the light comes from the left side. I had to think that for the left side, so I placed my shading and warm gray, cool gray 5 3 1, and then I place 7, and then I blend again with 5 3 until 1, so that I'm happy with the shading but that I get a good contrast, so you kind of get that pop out of the paper effect that I quite like. I don't use die cuts very much, probably just because dyes are not cheap. But I do kind of like the one layer card, and when you send them per the post, you pay more when it's above 20 grams, and if you do one layer it tends to be just about 20 grams, so I tend to make flat cards for that reason as well. That's in the UK, I know it's probably different in other countries, but in the UK at least, and France as well actually, above 20 grams you pay more, so that's one of the reasons probably that I decide often to go for flat cards. So I retraced I did add shading onto the gritting, I'm retracing the outline with a pigment pen, and I added little dots here and there, and I've made the outline, or I will make, the outline of the petals a bit too thick on the edges. I thought it looks nice, but it doesn't. So off camera afterwards, I've decided to use a white gel pen, and if you do that, do it when the pigment pen is dry, a white gel pen, and I just retrace the inner outline so that it looks a bit thinner and a bit prettier. I added a little bit of glitter with the Copic Pikachu, and then some little dots here and there. I think it adds a little bit of magic. It's like having a bit of fairy dust around your flowers, and I think it looks quite pretty. It's quite a straightforward card. It's simple, but I think it has a cool, it's pretty elegant. It didn't take forever to do, and I hope you will be well received. So I hope you found this card interesting. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.